me to important. Look, this is for pharma. This is a super important area. And this is a lovely case study. Lays out what the issues are, the architecture, how they got it done. I think that it's the next level of really distilling customer feedback. I'm here in Cincinnati, staying with a friend, Pete Blackshaw, is probably the world's expert on digitized customer feedback, and this is good stuff. So I was going to give it important.
Okay, important from John. Ankash, what your thoughts were?
Important, Luda, for all the reasons that John mentioned.
Okay, Tim, important, optional. What did you think?
Yeah, I was important on this. It's a bit of a long read, but it shows the complexity of the architecture is being developed, and it's a good one to have in your back pocket, as I like to say. So I think it's important. I feel a bit like it's chasing, fighting the last war. It'll be interesting to see because, of course, they're analyzing social media, and we've been talking now about how social media analysis is not going to be the future. It's going to be AI model analysis or whatever AEO, whatever we call it.
Yeah.
But it's still a good case study, good bones, and it would be great if they had more results, but it's hard to give quantitative results on influence patterns like this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, we're going important. Paul, any objections? No. Okay, let's proceed then. Ankash?
Yes. So the next one comes from Bessemer Venture Partners, and it's their State of AI 2025 report.
Oh, a longish report coming from one of the VC leaders in this space. What did you think about this, Tim?
I thought it was okay. I could be talked into important because it does help give a framework for where things are. I'm not sure I agree with their framework. It's awfully early to they're capturing these models of companies that are a year or two old. It's logical and coherent. So I would say probably important just to give people a sense of where certain markets are. I wouldn't place too much bets on any of this stuff. It's early days, and of course they talk their book. All these VCs talk their book a lot, but it's a reasonable framework to consider.
Okay. What did you think about this, John? You're on mute.
That's what I'm trying to get to here. Yeah, I was going to give it important. I agree with everything Tim said. Look, it's super early days. I think it's kind of, I think some of the, supernova versus, star and all that stuff. I think it's fun to just think about what are the accelerants and what are the different growth patterns. But, I think if you're to look at, anyway, it's a reminder of just how dynamic and compressed this market is. And, it's got some pretty nice, examples of stories. So I would give it an important.
Yeah. So
the other thing that is worth mentioning is the difference between this and the dot-com bubble. Okay. So if you look, most people probably listening maybe are too young to even have been there. But for those of us who were there, the difference was dot-com companies became very large, very fast, but it was based totally on distribution. So their kind of supernova model was totally based on eyeballs and capture of a large number of consumer relationships. The difference here is it's ARR, it's real revenue. These companies are generating enormous amounts of money. Now, they may not be profitable, and that may lead to all sorts of issues over time, but they're generating real money. And so there's a huge difference to me. People say, are we in a bubble? No, I don't think this is a bubble in that sense, because this is real money, and it's very different from what was going on in .com when everything was about acquisition of eyeballs and revenue was a secondary consideration.
Yeah,
and by the way, for Google that turned out to be fine, but for a lot of companies it didn't.
Just to Ankash, if you can get to the table, supernovas versus shooting stars. I think it's on page, I don't know, not far from the top. It talks about they analyzed a number of companies, and essentially their hypothesis here that supernovas are very grow from here, so grow exponentially very, very quickly, versus the shooting stars. They gain momentum and sort of develop their staying power, but the growth is also quite stunning, right? So their hypothesis here that supernovas would prevail, and they give advice to the startup, also to the founders, to figure out whether they can actually get traction in the market that way.
Yeah, I do want to point people to a really great article by Jeff Raport from 2023 that talks about the extrapolation stage of startups. He has a whole course at Harvard Business School that we help him with called Scaling New Ventures. And he talks about in the extrapolation phase, you have ones that have positive feedback loops on cash and growth and ones that have negative ones. And so like a good example would be iRobot. iRobot was never able to, it grew like Curate, like Topsy, but their R&D overhang was always greater than the margin they could attract in the marketplace. So they eventually went bankrupt or got bought, I forget which. And then, and the same thing was true of these .com things. A lot of them just spent a lot of money to get eyeballs, but they didn't have a cash flow that scaled with that investment. These companies do. Cursor is making money,
Lots.
and very different. So I think Jeffrey actually has a better analysis of this. And I put the link. It's available from Harvard Business Review in the thing.
Yeah, just another mention. There are 5 predictions whether they're, and this is in the what will happen in terms of trending in AI. So and that's important from that perspective. So let's mark it as important and proceed.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're right on this, by the way. I don't think. I don't think the browser. I think mobile is actually going to be the dominant interface.
If I can, one other comment.
Voice mobile would be the dominant interface.
Okay, go, Paul.
I agree.
So I did a .com. I was CEO, and I can't tell you the pressure we had to get eyeballs and not revenue. I do think back to Tim's point. It is incredibly notable that 10 companies that have 0 to 40 million in the year one. And we're looking at OpenAI 12 billion, and I think Anthropic at 3 billion. So this is a stunning top line. Now, to John's point, some of these gross margins, I think they're still negative 25%. So that's a whole nother debate. But there is absolutely, and we've never seen a tech market with such top line growth with brand new newcos ever. And now a lot of them are selling to the other.
Not at this rate of speed.
Right.
Not
at this rate of speed.
Right. Okay. So predict. I think it's important for the AI leaders to take a look at this, whether they believe it or not. But it's a good compendium. So important it is. Let's proceed. Ankash.
Okay, the last one comes from OpenAI, and it's a case study about how Basis scales accounting by turning OpenAI model progress into trusted agents.
Okay. So it's
I think it's me.
Yeah, John, could you please tell us what
sure. Yeah, I was going to give this important, I mean, this is I think a great example of, it's a vendor talking their book and all the, provisos and, as they say, divide by the appropriate constant, but the this notion of how do you go have services as software is, coming along. I mean, I think accounting's a beautiful example because it's kind of quasi-structured. There's some semantic interpretation. There's a lot of rules. It's a perfect place to use a combination of generative AI and traditional AI to automate. I've been on a bunch of boards, including one now. I'm on an audit committee. Actually, when I get done here, I'm going to have to go review the new audit fees from our auditor. I really don't want to pay them. They're overcharging us. It's going to be a couple $1,000,000, and I think it should be like $500,000. So operationally, this is going to be a big issue for audit firms. So I gave it an important. I'm certainly going to ship it around to some of my friends in the audit business to remind them how quickly this is changing.
Okay, important from John because he's in the thick of things in accounting and he thinks this is important.
Well, everybody's got accounting issues.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying it is important. But Do
Yeah.
we think
No, no,
that?
but I thought about that because
No, John.
yeah.
I'm just but
Yeah.
you're in, and it's also because you're in the thick of things, and that highlights the area. What did you think about this, Paul?
Sure, I can support important. I think it's a good. That John and I have talked a lot about kind of AI arbitrage and different cognitive tasks, and this is a really good example of that. So important.
Important. Okay, Tim.
Yeah, I'm okay with important. I was on the border. This is, not nearly as good, I think, a use case as the one from AWS. But for OpenAI, this is definitely a step up. So I'm glad they got at least a little bit more detail. And again, no information on actual results either. So that's a little weakness. So lower back pocket.
So so Tim, you're saying that it's not a bunch of people inappropriately dressed, in ugly sweaters or t-shirts having a meaningless conversation about the product, which is their normal case study.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but the piece in this article that I think is important is how they're working on the validation of the agent output, and what are the benchmarking, what is the reviewability level of the models. So they're focusing on that, and that is very important for accounting and other areas transferable to other domains. So in
It's
that
okay,
sense,
yeah, but they don't give any insight into what for me as an AI leader would help.
yeah.
Like, how would I do that when I'm not them? Even if I was them, they don't even tell how they do it really in any level of detail. So it's okay, but it's not that helpful.
Okay,
I'd
so
be
we
okay.
have optional folks, we have important folks.
I'd-
Ankash, you're the judge. What do you think?
I'm important on this one, Luda, for slightly different reason. I agree with John's point of view, but I think this is one of the case studies we have discussed very few where we have seen reasoning models working well, right? So one, they are using O3, O3 Pro, and now GPT-5, right? And then it's a multi-agent system. There is parallel processing. So a lot of advancements from that perspective in this case study. I agree with Tim. It's light on details. But yeah, this can be a reference case study on how multi-agents can work successfully.
Okay, important it is. We are at our time, but any critical announcements, Paul?
No, well, one thing. Yesterday, I was invited to Massachusetts AI Hub. Had a working session all day on. This is part of the one of the initiatives coming out of the $100 million funding that the state did for AI, and the amount of excitement in non-technical areas for AI is really mainstream now. So it was really interesting to be at the Microsoft Nerd Center with maybe about 150 people there. Just we're so in our corner, been doing this 350 shows or 400 shows, but to see people from city and lake governments and unions and everyone really, so the world is really waking up to the profound impacts of the AI moment we're in.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul, for that. Okay, for today, we have one essential, three importance, and two optionals. Thank you very much for listening, Brenda, Kevin, and commenting. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you all tomorrow. And thank you, Tim, for joining. Appreciate it as well. See you all tomorrow.
Bye-bye.